All right, hey everybody, Teching and Barry here. I am going to settle this argument right here and right now, okay? In front of me, I have this super long list of One Piece characters, right? And in a couple of seconds, I'm going to read off this list. And if one of the characters on this list is not the man marked by flames, I will be stunned. Not only will I be stunned, I will also be shocked. I will be shocked and stunned, all right? I will be so shocked and stunned that I will light this jacket on fire. Really should. Okay, well, you know what? I will light this jacket on fire if I am that confident. I am that confident that I would risk the jacket. I would risk everything that this jacket embodies if the man marked by flames is not one of the characters on this list, okay? So let's read through this list here. This is in no particular order. This is not organized like, most likely to least likely. This is some of the names I came up with myself. Some of the names, a lot of them were from the chat, from a stream I did a few days ago. So here we go. Potential candidates for the man marked by flames, the one that sails the pitch black ship amidst the waters of the New World, the one in the possession of the fourth road Poneglyph, the one who can summon whirlpools, the answer, the key to all of this. Here we go. Scopper Gabon, Monkey D. Dragon, Jaguar D. Sol, Fisher Tiger, Eam Sama, a random Lunarian, Geen, Robin's father, Professor Clover, another random O'Hara survivor, a former slave from Marijois, Shiki the Golden Lion, Roxy Zebek, Silver Axe, Wang Ji, Toki, Prince Zuko, Yorkie, Saint Charlos, Arlong, Arouge, Captain Kuro, Verona, Kong, Otohime, Foxy, Tom, Davy Jones, Vanderdecken the First, Pandaman. I was kind of naming them sort of like the Smash Brothers narrator there at the end. Kirby! Mario! Okay, well anyway, yeah, there you go. There's the list. Many of them make zero sense. Many of the characters on this are dead. Some of the characters on this are not even from this anime. Some of the characters on this list are fictional characters created in a One Piece D&D game run by Daniel Rustage that we stream pretty much every single 2 weeks, Thursday. It's this Friday. It's the next one's this Friday. It's the 28th is the next one we're doing. Okay, anyway, watch. It's gonna be like Gaimon or something. I didn't include Gaimon in there. I included Pandaman, and there's a reason I included Pandaman, okay? Pandaman was a member of Big Mom's crew. He was a member of Roger's crew. I mean, he was on the Heart Pirates. I mean, Pandaman is all over the place, okay? Actually, you know what? Unironically, I don't think the man marked by flames. I think it's Dragon. I'm just throwing that out there right now. I'm using Dragon. Did you see him in the thumbnail? He's right there. Yeah, it's probably Dragon. That's what we're mainly going to be talking about today. But, I just wanted to throw everybody out there. But I'll tell you what. I will tell you something. If Oda actually makes Pandaman like a character the Straw Hats meet and interact with at some point, I would be okay with that too. All right, like I'm not saying that Pandaman's the man marked by flames, but if the Straw Hats were to arrive at like Laugh Tale and there's like a guardian there, not really somebody that's strong, but somebody that's like just somebody that's there as a caretaker of the One Piece. Maybe not even a living being. Maybe it's some kind of like god from another realm or something. I don't know. And it's like, hello there, Straw Hats. I've been awaiting you. For my name is Pandaman, and I am the one that guards the One Piece. I have fragmented my being across your world, observing pirates, marines, the government, revolutionaries alike. You could see me in the crowd. Sometimes I'm just a normal civilian. Sometimes I am a king. Sometimes I am a god. But I am always watching, for I am Pandaman. All right, so I'd be all right with that. Like, why not? Like, at the very end, Pandaman shows up. Like, it turns out Pandaman was the narrator the whole time. I'd be okay with that. It'd be all right. All right, but yeah, you know what? My first reaction upon reading the chapter, I gotta tell you, and I even said this when I did the review, my first thought with this, Dragon. That was my first inkling when I was reading the chapter the first time, and Lafitte mentioned, pitch black ship, and they can cause whirlpools. Lafitte kind of threw out the idea, maybe they have a devil fruit. Shiryu immediately said, well, maybe they're a member of the world government. But I gotta tell you, first person that popped into my head was Dragon, and also considering the fact the revolutionaries are on the move, and also considering the fact every single plot thread has to be consolidated, I think just assuming it's Monkey D. Dragon and not thinking too much beyond that might actually be okay, because at least that way, I feel like also Oda's kind of throwing out a bunch of different red herrings here. Like, Oda wants us to be like, oh, maybe it's this person, maybe it's this person. We've already done that, because for a while there, I thought it was guaranteed to be Saul. All right, because Saul was marked by flames at Ohara, or he was, he was there at the Buster Call. Although, one could actually say he wasn't really marked by flames, Saul. He was frozen by Aokiji, and, the fire probably melted the ice, or maybe some other means for him to get away, or maybe he broke out of the ice and he ripped off his skin or something like that, so he might have not have actually been burned. All the wounds on Saul's body might have been directly because of the ice, you know what I mean? He didn't wait for it to melt. He, broke out of it and, ripped off his flesh or something. He might have some really bad scars, all over his body is what I'm saying, but not exactly the same thing, right? Okay. And also the meaning for that phrase, the man marked by flames, it could indicate actual burn scars. It could indicate a tattoo, which Dragon has a tattoo. It could also be a brand. So not exactly a standard burn scar, like you accidentally got burned by flames, or you touched the stove or something, you get a scar that way. It could be a brand as a marker, such as with the Celestial Dragons marking the people that would become their slaves with the hoof of the Celestial Dragon. And the Sun Pirates, used another brand to overlap that one, to cover up the mark of the Celestial Dragons with the image of the sun, okay? So, it could be a fishman, so maybe Fisher Tiger's still alive, right? By the way, I don't think Fisher Tiger's still alive. I don't think Otohime is still alive. I don't think Tom is still alive. I know I listed him. I really think that it's just Dragon at this point, okay? Artor made a video about it the other day. He thinks it's Dragon. A lot of people are settling on Dragon just because, Dragon needs to, Garp is doing stuff, Shanks is doing stuff, Blackbeard is doing stuff. Dragon needs to start doing stuff, and this would be the perfect way to connect it all back together, all right? And really, it does line up. You can stretch it with a bunch of things. It could still be Saul. You could say, oh, well, what if Saul is in a boat sailing around the New World, and maybe Saul ate some devil fruit that allows him to manipulate the ocean currents, and now he could summon whirlpools. Maybe it's something like that. Yeah, you could stretch it with anything. Pretty much anybody I listed on that, well, not anybody, because there was, some silly characters on there, but, a lot of One Piece characters, like Gin, for instance, you could say, oh, it was Gin. Gin ate a whirlpool devil fruit, and it was Gin the whole time. Captain Kuro ate the whirlpool devil fruit, or Captain Kuro unlocked Haki that allows him to manipulate the whirlpools. Sure. You could stretch it to any crazy degree if you want. If you really want a character to be the man marked by flames, you could jump through any number of hurdles in order to, arrive at that conclusion. But at the end of the day, Dragon is somebody that has a huge tattoo on the side of his face, which could be the marked by flames, title there. It could be a brand. It could have something to do with the Celestial Dragons. Who knows? It might have something to do, there's a popular theory that Dragon's wife was a Celestial Dragon. Maybe it's a thing where maybe Dragon's wife was a slave of the Celestial Dragons, and then she was branded, and then she was killed, and then out of solidarity, Dragon put a scar on his face to kind of slight the Celestial Dragons. It's just oh, you brand the ones that, work for you as slaves. Well, I'm going to brand my face, and I'm going to be the one to bring you down. All right? So it might be something like that. Dragon himself being a former slave, Garp is his dad, who is a member of the Marines, so I find it kind of unlikely that Dragon himself was a slave. But kind of going along with the same line of the Sun Pirates using a brand to cover up the slave symbol with the sun symbol, it's sort of just okay, we can't erase the past, but we can change it into something better, okay? And so that's maybe the same thing with Dragon. Now, during Roger's execution 24 years ago, Dragon did not have that scar. Also, because now we have another flashback that's right around that same time when Dragon met with Vegapunk. He also does not have that scar 22 years ago at Ohara, okay? So The scar is not like something that's directly tied to the formation of the revolutionaries, right? It's not like Dragon's wife died, and as a sign of loyalty to her, or like to like a fire for her memories or something, he brands this thing on his face, and he's like, "I will form the freedom fighters. I will form the revolution." Something like that. It can't be anything like that, because the revolutionaries, the freedom fighters, were already up and running, for several years, and Dragon did not have that tattoo. It could be a situation where Dragon was captured, like he started the Freedom Fighters, got captured, got branded, maybe a special brand, like the brand we see on most people, like Boa and her siblings. They have the hoof of the Celestial Dragons on their back. But what if there's like another brand that the Celestial Dragons like to use? Something that's like reserved more for like, oh, these are the worst criminals in the world, and now they answer to us. These maybe that actually, yeah, the ones, not just pirates, not just people that are causing havoc in the world, but the people like Dragon, the people that are revolutionaries, the people that are actively trying to grab the Tenryubito and throw them off the red line, okay? Because throughout history, there had to have been plenty of other revolutions. There had to be plenty of other people like Dragon that got a group together. It's like, hey, let's fight back. Probably happened Void Century was like about 900, 800 years ago is when it ended. So 600 years ago, there might have been a revolution. 400 years ago, there was another revolution. And maybe the Tenryubito, they obviously won each time because they're still around. So what if it's a situation like when they find somebody like that actually thinks that like they're going to defeat the Tenryubito, they're going to drag them down off of Marijois, they have a special brand reserved for them. They have like, oh no, we're not just going to brand you with the hoof. We're going to do something else. We're going to maybe the Dragon's Claw. That's kind of what it sort of resembles if you look at Dragon's tattoo. It sort of looks like scratches, like a claw shape. It doesn't really look like a flame, so to speak, but it looks like a claw. So maybe it's like that. Maybe it's like normally we just brand you with the hoof on your back, like the Celestial Dragon is stepping on you, like you're below their notice. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you are so far beneath the Celestial Dragons. The dragon does not even pay attention to you. The dragon does not breathe fire on you. The dragon does not scratch you. The dragon merely stomps on you, and you are now subservient to us. That's how it is with most people. But Dragon actually stood up, and he's like, no, I'm fighting back. And it's like, okay, you're going to get scratched. And he did, but then he got away. He escaped from Marijois. And obviously, they wouldn't have let this information get out into the world, so we've never heard about it. We know about Fisher Tiger's little foray of climbing the red line, getting in there, burning the whole thing down. That's how Boa and her siblings escaped. That's how a lot of the slaves escaped. And that was kind of like big news, right? But Dragon might have just escaped another way, gotten out of there, and then he went back to the revolution, went back to the freedom fighters, and then they started en masse even more, okay? He might have only been in prison for maybe a year or so, maybe even less, got the scar, and then left, and then he was even more reinvigorated, like, okay, no, we're definitely doing this now, right? That could also be why Dragon is given the title of the most wanted man in the world, because not only was he leading a revolution and he was captured, but unlike all the other people that got captured before throughout history, before the 800 years of the world government, they all got captured and got killed or branded or turned into slaves or whatever. Dragon's the lone exception that got captured, branded, and then escaped. All right? And it might have not even have taken too long, because Dragon has been the head of the revolutionaries for some, number of years, This could have happened, I don't know, you could definitely find space on the timeline for it. This could have happened 15 years ago, maybe even further back than that, because it was mentioned that the revolutionaries, they were very small, they was just like Vonkov, Kuma, and Dragon himself at first. And a lot of these rebellions, I would imagine a lot of people in the One Piece world are afraid to rebel. Whenever revolutions pop up, they'd be like, I don't want anything to do with this. They find out we're up to this, even if it's just like, even if we only have a force of like 7 people, and it's like, oh, well, there's no way that 7 people are going to bring down the world government. The world government's going to take it very seriously. They make it plain as day. You try to rebel against us, especially the Tenryubito, bad enough for the Marines if you rebel against the Marines. That's basically what the pirates are. But if you're specifically targeting the world government and the Tenryubito as your enemy, if you're specifically going after the Tenryubito, you're going to die, you're going to get captured and tortured, and you're going to be turned into a slave, and you're going to be just humiliated and tortured until the point where you wish for death, and then we'll finally maybe give it to you. Or maybe we'll not. Maybe we'll keep you stewing in your own pain and suffering for a little while because you went up against us. You know what I mean? That's how it usually is. So most people are afraid. But Dragon, dude, can you imagine the rallying cry of that? Can you imagine the story? Let's say the original freedom fighters got together. It was Dragon, Ivankov, Kuma, maybe a couple of other people. Maybe no more than a dozen people in the freedom fighters. And he even asked Vegapunk to join, but Vegapunk was like, no, you have no money, you have no resources, right? And so whatever. And then Dragon, he has this group of like 12 people. They're planning strategies to take on the government. Cypher Pole finds out about this. They end up capturing Dragon. Like maybe, I don't know, okay, Luffy was born 19 years ago. Maybe this could actually tie into Luffy's birth. Holy crap, okay, because all that stuff with Vegapunk, that was like 22 years ago at Ohara. That was before Luffy was born, okay? So holy crap, if Dragon got captured by Cypher Pole Zero, let's say, brought to Marijois, and he's like, oh, you fought against us. You will now be branded with the claw of the Celestial Dragon. And then he's like thrown in rags and he's forced to do like the worst possible, like it's even more brutal than the regular slaves at Marijois. Like they run Dragon to death. They give him no food. They give him barely any water, no time to sleep, just making him walk across broken glass and spikes and shit like that, like demeaning him to the most insane possible degree. And then let's say there was a female celestial dragon that, like, you know, was more like human, like very much similar to like Homing and, you know, Mjolsgard is now. And there was a member of the Celestial Dragons that, like, you know, fell for Dragon and was kind to him, and that might have been Luffy's mother, and then she helped him escape. He got away, and then she was killed. Now, there has to be another impetus for why Dragon initially wanted to start the freedom fighters, okay? Because the idea was maybe it was something involving Luffy's mom, and that's what started his ideas to fight back. But it might have been like an initial thing that Dragon's like, I'm fighting against the government. Maybe it's something he just learned about. I mean, if Garp is his dad, you know, and he is his dad, Garp's his dad, you know, at some point, maybe Dragon, when he was a little kid, maybe he got a chance to actually go to Marijois because his dad is like a marine hero. So he got a chance to really see what it was like. And it's from that moment he decided to rebel. Maybe that's how it was at the beginning. It was just simple rebellion. It was just like, I don't like the way the world is. I'm not going to be a marine. I'm not going to be a pirate either. I'm going to be someone that's actually going to try to change things. And so that's where that idealism really started. So he began the freedom fighters. But then he got captured. And then after that whole event, that just lit an even greater fire amongst him. And also that would be the rallying cry, because the Revolutionary Army is huge right now. It's a massive organization. They got branch divisions all throughout the Four Blues, and in the Grand Line, they got the commanders and the vice commanders. They got, you know, Sabo as the chief of staff. You got Koala, you got Hack, you got all these really powerful people, okay? So what if Dragon escaping from Marijois, surviving with the claw of the Celestial Dragon on his face, is like, holy crap, this guy might actually be legit. This guy might be the dude. He might be the one that's actually going to do this. All those other revolutionaries, they got crushed before they could even get off the ground. But Dragon, he made it back alive. You know what? Sign me up, Dragon. I will be a member of the Revolution. And then Dragon gets this massive organization now because of that. And it was because he escaped, or, you know, the person that helped him escaped or whatever. And maybe this individual had Luffy at some point. I'm not sure how the timelines could have worked out with this. Garp got involved at some point, took Luffy out of there because Dragon could obviously not raise him. You know, Oda might go about it in some direction of, like, maybe Dragon didn't even know Luffy was conceived, you know, like she was even pregnant with Luffy, or even if he was aware, Dragon might be like, I can't raise that kid. Like, not only because I have a revolution to, you know, head up, I also just literally cannot raise that kid. Because if I ever get found out again, they're going to take me and my kid, and they're going to, you know, torture both of us. So, Dad, Garp, take Luffy, get him out of there, put him somewhere else that the government's not going to find him. You know, it might be something like that we're going to go along with, right? So that's that. That's just a crazy idea. But anyway, going back to the description that Lafitte gave, though, we have So we have the pitch black ship, right? We have this pitch black vessel that's sailing, all right? Now, we saw the ship of the revolutionaries. It's called the Wind Grandma, and it's named after a yacht that was used primarily during the Cuban Revolution, because there's a lot of inspirations from that revolution into, Dragon's Revolution, okay? So we see the ship in the anime, and it's not pitch black. In the anime, it's like the dragon is like a dark green, and so it's definitely not a pitch black ship. But keep in mind, this was in the anime. We only saw, I think, this ship in the manga like a couple of times. So maybe Oda's intention was to keep it a pitch black ship, but in the anime, they messed up. It could have been easily something like that. So I'm just gonna go along with that idea. Also, they could have just painted the ship. You know what I mean? It's not like a big deal. Like Dragon could have at one point, because when we see the ship right here, this was like something, this was 12 years ago. This was during the whole Gray Terminal thing with Sabo and Ace and Luffy and everybody, right? That was during this incident, okay? So that was like over a decade ago. Dragon at some point could have been like, paint the ship pitch black. It looks cooler for our revolution. And they're like, all right, sir. Just like, all right, whatever. But I think more than likely, Oda intended it to be a pitch black ship, and it's just in the anime they messed it up. They added some like dark colors to it. Okay, and that was it. Okay. The whirlpool thing also makes perfect sense because Dragon has some kind of wind or storm or some kind of ability to affect the weather. He could summon whirlpools. That makes sense. You don't have to stretch it to like some devil fruit that somebody ate that specifically affects whirlpools, or some hockey that somebody has that specifically creates whirlpools. You don't need to go that crazy with it. You could just keep it Dragon, because he's the dude that can already mess with the freaking weather, all right? So there we go. Fine, good. And then him having the Poneglyph itself. Let's talk about that. So the fourth Poneglyph, the missing one, was located Fishman Island, 24, 25 years ago during Roger's backstory with Odin and everybody, okay? That was where it was. It's obviously not there anymore, so somebody had to move it. So you'd think that whoever did move it would have to have connections with Fishman Island and the Ryugu Kingdom, if not them being a fishman or a merman, mermaid, whatever, in general, okay? So that's why a lot of people were throwing out, like, fishman characters and stuff like that. Like, Fisher Tiger's still alive. Otohime, maybe, who knows? Well, I don't know, like, maybe it could have been, like, Neptune definitely should know what happened to it, right? It's just they never asked him. Robin, I don't know. I feel like Neptune, as the king of the entire Ryugu Kingdom, should have been aware when that road poneglyph went missing. I know the sea forest is not right in Fishman Island. It's like off to the side a bit, but still, it's part of his domain, and that's like a really important thing that was put there. Neptune should have known at least who took it. Maybe Neptune doesn't know where it went or what it said, what the location that it specified was, but Neptune should have realized, like, all right, these people are coming into my domain and are taking this away. All right, whether or not they are fishmen or merfolk or there's somebody else, okay? So if you look at that from the perspective of the revolutionaries, you could definitely see the people, the residents of Fishman Island being sympathetic with the revolutionaries. Their ideology would probably line up with theirs pretty easily when it comes to like the idea of like tearing down the Tenryubito system, the cause of all the slavery and suffering in the world, and then maybe the fishmen and merfolk could live on the sun. They could live under the sun like all the humans, okay? So I'm feeling like if Dragon were to have an audience with Neptune and sit down with him and be like, hey there, Neptune, I'm Monkey D. Batman. I mean Dragon. I need that road poneglyph over there in the sea forest. I need to move it to a safe location so no one will ever find Laugh-Tale. Heaven help us if the Tenryubito find that location that Roger located. And then Neptune be like, all right. All right, yes. Ho, ho, ho. Yes, I do. I will move that giant stone at once. By the way, Dragon, what do you want for your Christmas list? Ho, ho, ho. Neptune's laughter style is ho, ho, ho. It's based off. He kind of looks like Santa Claus, too. It's Neptune is Santa Claus in the One Piece world, just canonically. Anyway, so, yeah, that makes sense. Also, Hack. Hack is a fishman who's a member of the Revolutionary Armies, and he's a big fan of, he's a fan, but he's also a partner with Sabo and Koala, right? So there you go, too. I'm sure there's other fishmen and merfolk that are part of the Revolutionaries. They have a mink, they have Lindbergh, they have a giant who is Morley. There's Karasu, who's the crow. I think Karasu's just maybe a human. And who's the last one? Bello Betty, also I think just a regular human. Okay, so there we go. But still, you have a giant, you have Fishman, you have Minx. So sure, why not? I could see them being sympathetic with the cause there. Also, considering Whitebeard, that was his territory during the time, Whitebeard might have even assisted with this, or he might have known at least where it went, something along those lines. But Neptune should 100% know where that last one went, or at least who took it, okay? Maybe they swore him to, maybe Dragon moved it, and then he's like, Neptune, you can never say I was here, like, to anybody. Doesn't matter. And then so Neptune's like, okay, I guess I'll just keep that under lock and key then. You know, it could have been something as simple as that, right? And so the reason why I think Dragon moved it, I mean, it was a smart move, because keeping that thing on Fishman Island for most of the centuries, it did not matter. Then Roger found Laughtail and the One Piece, and all of a sudden the Great Pirate Era is happening. All of a sudden, this matters. Also, that was a good idea to take the one from Fishman Island, because that is the key choke point. If you are a pirate and you want to go to the New World, you have to travel through Fishman Island. There's really no other alternative. You can't go through Marijois. Unless you want to borrow a hole straight through the Red Line or climb it from some other angle, you got to go under through Fishman Island. So maybe Dragon realized, okay, Great Pirate Era. A lot of pirates. They're going to be sailing through Fishman Island. They're going to stumble upon this road poneglyph right there. It didn't used to be a big deal for centuries because there weren't really, by, you know, relative size, there weren't that many pirate crews, okay? Now there's a bunch. Also, the government's way more active. Cypher Pool's way more active. The warlords are a thing. I'm going to move this. I'm going to move this. All the other road poneglyphs. There's two that were in the hands of emperors. One was in the hands of Big Mom, even before Roger found the One Piece. Big Mom had that road poneglyph in her library, in her prison library, okay? Or in the treasure storeroom. They were different rooms. Kaido has the one in Wano, which Kaido just set up operations there within, like, I think 28 years ago he arrived there, so he had control of it at that point. So Dragon was probably like, getting a road poneglyph from Big Mom or Kaido. Well, tell you what, it's going to be hard enough for the government or pirates or anybody to get them from those two emperors anyway. So I'll just leave those there. The last one was on Zoe, but nobody knows it's there. And also, like, Lindbergh is a member of the Revolutionaries, so maybe Lindbergh even told Dragon about it. And maybe Dragon felt like that one's probably pretty secure too. Zunisha moves around. Most people that see the thing are probably just going to avoid it. You know, you don't usually see a giant elephant walking through the mists of the ocean that's like 35 kilometers tall and immediately think, let's attack and kill that thing. You know what I mean? They're probably just going to avoid it. Most pirates are. And it's also pretty safe because it always moves. And also the power of the Minx should not be underestimated with the Electro and their Sulong. Also, nobody knows it's there. It would be one thing if, like, the government knew 100% that's where the last road poneglyph is. It's on Zoe. You know, it would be one thing like that. But I don't think they know that. At least you think they would be launching a much more greater attack against Zunisha if they did know that, right? So maybe Dragon felt, okay, that one on Zunisha in the Whale Forest, that one's probably secure. Okay, that one's probably secure. So the one that's kind of out in the open that a lot of pirates are going to stumble across is the one on Fishman Island. So I need to remove that. And the idea is that Lafitte said that that road poneglyph is located on the ship, on the deck of, let's say, the Windgramma. And as they sail around, as Dragon takes his ship and sails throughout the New World, not all the time. He doesn't spend all of his time on the Windgramma sailing, just luring pirates around. But whenever Dragon has to travel, he travels in style. He travels on this pitch black ship, probably using his devil fruit to cover the whole area in fog and mist and thunderstorms. Pretty much wherever Dragon goes, there's just a swirling thunderstorm with the Windgramma at the center. If he really has like some kind of storm Logia or storm Paramecia, he can control the wind. So he could be at the center of this freaking hurricane, essentially, wherever he goes. And if anybody spots him, they're like, let's go after that pitch black ship. That's where the road poneglyph is. And then, boop, immediately gets sunk in the water. So anybody that knows about this rumor that goes after him immediately gets destroyed by the raw forces of nature. It's not even, like, how do you fight against that? How do you do that, really? It'd be one thing if they knew who the man marked by flames was, and like, oh yeah, we went up against him, and then he attacked us with a sword or a gun or something. But no, it's like, like we tried to get close to his ship and it just gets sucked down and destroyed by the briny deep. You know, we can't fight against nature. You can't fight against Mother Nature with the storms and shit. You know what I mean? So it's like we can't do anything about it, right? So this rumor kind of persists, but Dragon might be like, sure, yeah, anybody that's interested in Laugh-Tale could come after me and I'll sink them. So yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea right there. I'm putting all the money on Dragon right now. I mean, I guess maybe Saul could still be in there, but nah. I'm throwing my chips down on Monkey D. Dragon, Man Marked by Flames. A lot of people are too. Dragon stocks are pretty high right now, I'd have to say. So yeah, let me know down below what you think about all that. And now we can move on to Turtle Facts. Feels like forever since I've done a Turtle Fact video, but let's do it. Turtle Fact intro.
Time for some turtle facts. Time for some, turtle facts. We're gonna talk about turtle facts.
Okay, everybody, get ready because we're talking about the teeniest, tiniest turtle in the whole wide world. This little guy right here is the speckled padlopper tortoise. He's native to South Africa. The males grow only about 6 to 8 centimeters in length, and the females grow only about 10 centimeters in length. When the young hatch, they are only 7 grams and only measure around 30 millimeters, so they're very, very tiny, teeny. The females will only lay like 5 or less eggs a year, or at one particular clutch, so they don't really lay all that many eggs. They are endangered right now, and I think the reason for that is it's mainly poaching, because also they're so tiny. I would imagine, like, if you're in South Africa as a tourist and you see one of these things, it is illegal to take them back anywhere else. It is illegal to, they're not in the pet trade. They're not supposed to be sold as pets. That is highly illegal. But you could see somebody walking through South Africa as a tourist and maybe see these little tortoises here and like, oh my God, they're so cute. And then just pick one up and just put it in a fish tank or something and bring it back wherever you go. Don't do that. Don't do that. It also, I mean, their diets are not that highly specialized, so they could be kept as pets, but it's illegal to keep them as pets. So do not do that. And they are poached and all that stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to check on, as with most things on Animal Facts, the smallest member of that species and the largest member of the species. So for this one, it is the speckled padlopper tortoise. Thanks for watching, everybody. Teching, signing out.